Hey everyone, what's going on? Jeff here from Films at Home, and today I've got another Is It Worth an Upgrade 4K review to do for you. We're going to be taking a look at Beverly Hills Cop on 4K. This is a fairly recent release from Paramount. I'm just getting around to it now, so I'm a couple months behind, but it has a really interesting backstory, especially with the physical media releases that I'll talk about, and I want to let you guys know whether this is worth upgrading or not. So let's get into this review. So Beverly Hills Cop is an interesting release because there was a Blu-ray release of the Beverly Hills Cop Trilogy that came out in early 2020, January of 2020, and it had new 4K scans for all three of the Beverly Hills Cop movies, but it was only released on 1080p standard Blu-ray. So those transfers were very good. They got high remarks from every review that I read. I personally didn't get a chance to check them out, but they got very good remarks and they were really, really nice transfers according to everything I've heard. The 4K masters, they did a good job with. Now, it's interesting because about a year later, this came out in December of 2020, Beverly Hills Cop came to 4K. Now, just the first movie, but now is in 4K, where we previously, just a year earlier, had a 4K mastered Blu-ray. So this is going to be a tough sell for an upgrade because of how good that Blu-ray was and the fact that a lot of people may have purchased that not thinking it would come to 4K eventually. So the visuals here are still pretty nice. It does add a Dolby Vision HDR, which is new to this 4K release. You obviously don't get HDR in the Blu-ray, but otherwise the picture quality and just detail, resolution, that sort of thing, it's pretty much indistinguishable from the Blu-ray, which is an interesting phenomenon, but something I've talked about before, where when you have a really well mastered 4K 1080p Blu-ray and then you eventually get that on a 4K disc, this happens a lot with like Criterion Collection and some other movies. Sony has a lot of 4K mastered Blu-rays that have come to 4K. The detail and the quality of the transfer it's so close that it's not really, you can't tell the difference. The biggest selling point is usually with the HDR. But on this release, the HDR doesn't really change much. It adds a little bit extra pop. Contrast is better. The colors are a little bit better, but it doesn't drastically change the image at all. There's nothing that really stands out here that you'd say, oh, okay, HDR is the big upgrade here over the Blu-ray. This makes sense to upgrade. I didn't get that here. The HDR and the Dolby Vision obviously helps, and it does deliver a better picture. So if that's purely what you're looking for, is the best picture, then this is it. But if you put this head to head with the Blu-ray, I would say that your average Joe probably couldn't pick out which was 4K and which was Blu-ray, or they might go 50-50. If you asked 100 people which was which, I think it'd be split right down the middle. They wouldn't know the difference between 4K and Blu-ray. So for that reason, this is a really tough upgrade. I don't know how you can justify it especially if you bought the full 3-movie trilogy Blu-ray set. Those are all great 4K movies that are 4K transfers that are on Blu-ray, and only the first Beverly Hills Cop came to 4K. The other two did not. So it's kind of an odd choice by Paramount. I would say if you're a super fan, then yeah, this is the best version, but it's definitely not going to be one that I'd recommend everyone to upgrade, especially if you own that previous Blu-ray set. If you don't own the previous Blu-ray set and you're only interested in the first movie, then yes, this is a good choice. But if you want the full trilogy, all with 4K masters, you either have to take a gamble and buy that Blu-ray set, or wait and see and fingers crossed that maybe Beverly Hills Cop 2 and 3 eventually get a 4K disc, although there's nothing in the works right now as far as I know. Now on the audio, you've just got a 5.1 DTS HD, which is the same as the Blu-ray disc from 2020, so no upgrade there, nothing to talk about. That is a good audio track, but by going to 4K, you're not getting Atmos or any upgraded audio experience, so there's even less of a reason to really upgrade to this 4K disc, especially if you spent all the money on that trilogy. Now, the only reason I'd say upgrade is if you're holding on to Beverly Hills Cop, the original Blu-ray, which I think was from 2011. This is a much better transfer, but you have the option again, either buy the individual and not get the other two, or buy the trilogy set and get all three of them mastered in 4K, which is honestly probably what I would do at this point. Now, packaging wise, here's what you've got. Of course, pretty standard, nothing crazy. Open this up and it does come with a digital copy, and then it does have the 2 discs, Blu-ray and 4K, but nothing special on the disc art or anything. You're not really missing out on much by not having this package. The only benefit is that it's a standalone release versus in a trilogy box set. And then special features, there are some features on the 4K disc, but only one of them's actually in 4K. It's the Beverly Hills Club mixtape 1984. That's in 4K, and the rest of the stuff was previously available in the Blu-ray and is all in HD. So you're gaining one minor special feature, which is already available in HD on the Blu-rays, but you get that upgraded to 4K. So really, not much to talk about for special features. And overall, you're not getting a ton with this release. It would be a really hard sell for me to upgrade. The only way to upgrade is if you're absolutely sold on having the best version of every movie in your collection. In that case, this is the best version of Beverly Hills Cop. But if you're a collector like me who wants to have all the movies and is kind of a completionist who wants the whole trilogy, then your better option is probably buying the 4K master Blu-rays, because they're really well done. They look great. You're not getting any new audio. You're not getting any new special features. And the only upgrade is Dolby Vision HDR, which again, for this movie, at least 99 times out of 100, I don't think people are going to pick the difference between the 4K with HDR and the Blu-ray. And you may actually prefer the Blu-ray in the way that looks versus the HDR. So really it comes down to personal preference and what you want for your collection. Are you a completionist? Are you a perfectionist? Those are all questions you have to ask yourself as you're collecting. It's a nice release. They did a good job, but I just wish they had put all three of the movies out on 4K and not released a single 4K a year after the big trilogy release, because it just kind of doesn't make sense for most people. I don't think this will sell well. The reason they did this is probably because there's a new Beverly Hills Cop in the works. That trilogy box set probably sold pretty well. They figured maybe the 4K will, but it's just a weird marketing, go-to market strategy, release strategy from Paramount. And I'd say for the majority of you guys, no, this one's probably not worth an upgrade. But if you're a perfectionist and you need it for your 4K collection, there is a link in the description where you can pick it up, and that helps support my channel. Definitely worth purchasing if you're a perfectionist who wants that. But like I said, a lot of you are going to be better off with that Trilogy Blu-ray box set. Just make sure you buy the one from 2020 that has all the movies remastered in 4K. So thank you for watching this Is It Worth an Upgrade 4K review. I've got a few more titles to cover, including some Eddie Murphy stuff, some older 4K that I'm going through. There's a bit of a lull right now in 4K releases, which is nice because I'm able to catch up on my sort of backlog of 4K reviews, so hopefully you guys are enjoying that. But there is some great stuff coming soon as well, so make sure you subscribe and have your notifications on so you don't miss any videos. I'd really appreciate that. We're trying to hit our goal of 100,000 subscribers, so you can help do that by clicking one button. If you're interested in physical media, movies at all, I think you'll really get a lot out of this channel. But otherwise, find me on social media. Check out all the other links down in my description for ways you can support the channel. And that's about it. So stay safe, stay healthy out there, be smart, and hopefully you and your family are doing well, staying safe, staying healthy. But yeah, otherwise, hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys soon.